Hi, welcome to another Leading Peers Masterclass. Leading Peers is the premier community for CEOs to connect, collaborate, and grow. I'm Leo Popik, the founder and CEO of Leading Peers. In our Masterclass series, Leading Peers provides open and free access to education from experts to help CEOs succeed. In today's Masterclass, we will learn from Doron Abrahami, a member of Leading Peers. Doron is the founder and CEO of Impact Business Builders, a performance improvement firm whose proven approach and vetted systems are used to improve businesses of all sizes, from Fortune 500 to family firms. This masterclass is called The Owner's Metric, the one number you need to be truly free. Doron, I'm extremely excited to learn from you. Take it away.
Thanks, Leo. Of course, I'd like to thank you and Diane for all the help you've given me to put this together for the audience. I am a business owner in addition to working with business owners. In the past, I've owned my own marketing agency as well, which I built, grew, and sold. So some of the stuff that I'm saying here, I wish I knew back then. But really, there's one message that I'd like to deliver to all the business owners who are here watching and who may watch in the future. And it's really what's the one thing you need to be thinking about as an owner of the business. So while I'm going through this, it's a good idea for everyone to keep in mind, in the back of your head, remember, why did you start your company? Just try to remember what it was that was going through your mind. Give it a second for now. And then let's see if you match up with people that have reported back to us in our surveys about why they started their company. So for most people, the reason why they started their company was for freedom, personal freedom. So there is a sort of spectrum here when it comes to business owners. On the one side is the idea of personal freedom, right? So I started my marketing agency and I started Impact Business Builders, both largely because I didn't want to have to listen to anyone else telling me what to do. Never mind that later on I had to listen to a lot of people telling me what to do. But my big motivation in the first place was I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do. On the other side of that spectrum is I also wanted to sort of have a sense of personal achievement. I wanted to climb a mountain of sorts, right? I wanted to get to the top. So business, and I'm sure everyone was thinking initially, well, I started my business because I needed to make a living. And that's true to a degree, but there's a lot of ways that we can make a living. And if we're the type of people who are opening, running, and building businesses, there's ways that we could have gotten a job and let someone else lose sleep, right? But we wanted that personal freedom. And the money that we wanted, it's not going to buy us happiness, right? And our business is hopefully generating wealth for us, but it's not going to buy us happiness. That's going to come from mindset and family and a whole bunch of other places. But what it can do is give you personal freedom. So just to show you that I'm not making that up or pulling it out of thin air or extrapolating just from my own personal experience, we've run surveys over the years around what motivates business owners in a lot of different areas. And one of the things that we heard from business owners, what their sort of big dream was and remains, is personal freedom, which they defined as being able to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. It's not a Janis Joplin song. It's not some ephemeral sort of sense of well-being. It boils down to, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And if you look at the results of the survey, we specifically asked people, like, how do you define freedom as part of it? And some people did have a number, right? So we have a couple of sets here. One is pre-COVID, one is post-COVID. A minority of respondents had a number in mind of $10 million, right? And then a pretty good segment of people said, well, I would define a free person, or I would define freedom as having enough money to cover my lifestyle expenses. And there's nothing wrong with that, certainly, but I wouldn't categorize most business owners as how I define business, which is to say an organization with multiple people, as opposed to a practice, which is an individual or maybe multiple individuals all doing the same work to the same market for the most part. The majority of people, or a plurality of people, said that a free person is a person who can do whatever they want whenever they want to do it, right? So this is a result of a survey, not something that I just pulled out of thin air. It's important to me in general that information that I share comes from somewhere other than just my opinion. If it is my opinion, have no fear, I'll tell you up front that it's my opinion. So the question is, how do I get to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, right? And in the society that we live in the culture that we live in the economy that we live in, that's really a matter of wealth. And again, whether or not there's a specific number involved is something we can talk about in the future. But certainly the fastest way to get wealth, where the definition of wealth is enough so that you can do whatever you want whenever you want to do it, is to build your biggest asset, which, if you're a business owner, 90% of the time is going to be your company. So I'm sure you are diversifying your investments, you're taking money home, but whatever it is you do, your company is by and large going to be the largest asset in your portfolio. And I use those words specifically because I want to differentiate between your role as an owner and your role as the CEO or the president or the general manager, right? And remember, what we're talking about today is the one metric that owners need to focus on. I'll show you what I mean. So let's take a look at this sort of fictitious P&L statement, and hopefully you're looking at your P&L statement at least on a monthly basis to understand where your business is when you are running your business in your role as president or CEO. But the P&L statement, which is where all of our metrics really come from, doesn't include the metric I'm suggesting that you look at. Let's take a look at what it does include. So this top line number, just circled in blue now, your sales revenue, you're focused on this. If you have a sales manager or VP of sales, this is what they live and breathe, right? This is the number that the sales manager is concerned with, right? So you may be that sales manager. This is the number you're concerned with. It's not the owner's number. It's the sales manager's number. Likewise, if you take a look towards the bottom, I circled in blue total expenses. That's the number that your director of operations or your COO or your VP of ops, that's the number they live and measure their success by. And maybe you're doing this role. Maybe you're doing it in addition to the sales role. Maybe someone else is looking at sales and you're looking at this. Maybe you have someone in each of these roles. But this, again, it's not the owner's number. It's the operation manager's number. And then the bottom line, which is the number we all really like to talk about and we're concerned with, and we should be, don't get me wrong, our total income before tax. Honestly, this is not the owner's metric. This is the CEO's metric or the general manager's metric, right? So everything that we see on the profit and loss statement are metrics that are important, but they're important to managers. So if you think about a publicly traded company, the owners are you and me. We're not so interested in managing these numbers or even what these numbers are. It's part of what we take into account when we make a decision about whether or not we invest, right? But none of these numbers are make the decision for us. So let's take a look at what is that number, right? So all of those numbers and the P&L statement, those are some of the ingredients that go into making a valuable company. So you can think about the people who are looking at those things, even if it's you. In a lot of small businesses, it's the owner, right, who happens to be filling these other roles. You're like all of those people are the sous chef, but the chef, the owner, is the person that is making sure that all of those ingredients are coming together to make something that is greater than the sum of its parts. That's the role of the owner in a business. So what's the number I'm talking about? What's that metric? It's the multiple that determines the value of your business. It's not the top line, it's not the bottom line, it's the multiple that determines the value of your business. So let me draw a picture for you. Fictitious company that does, let's say, $4 million a year, $5 million a year revenue, right? That's the top line number. We did all the math. We got to a profit before taxes of, say, $800,000, 15 to 20%. Before you jump up and down, this is after you've paid yourself. This is another discussion we can have, but you should be paying yourself before you figure out what your profit is, not paying yourself from profit. That's the owner's money, not the CEO's money. For most businesses, in most industries, the average multiple is, let's say, 3.5, which means if you've built a business that generates $800,000 of profit, you can sell your business for $2.8 million. Remember, I'm talking to you as the owner. Your asset, the thing that you own, is worth $2.8 million. Now, we all want to increase that number. So typically, what do? We work really hard to grow our bottom line. And by doing so, we do increase the value of our business, right? So we've grown from $800,000 in profit to $900,000 in profit. Our multiple is still 3.5, right? Average for pretty much all industries at this point. Congratulations, we've grown the value of our business by, $350,000, just simple math, right? But I'm going to suggest that as an owner, the number you should be looking at is not that profit number, which is the CEO's number. The owner's number is the multiple. Let me show you why. Let's take that same business. We'll go back in time. We're at $800,000 of net profits, but we've done things differently in our business. We've focused on things that are not necessarily captured in that P&L statement. And if we've done it right, and I'll show you in a few minutes what right means, we can really have a huge impact on the multiple, right? So imagine we're able to double our multiple. By doubling our multiple, which again has nothing to do with top line, has nothing to do with bottom line, it has to do with other things that are happening in the business, we're able to increase the value of our business from 2.8 to 5.6 million, right? We're able to double the number. We've doubled the multiple. That's leverage. And leverage is what owners are interested in. Now, of course, we're not over time just going to think about what changes can I make in my business to impact the multiple. That would be enough, I'll argue, but we're not going to do that because we're also, most people watching this, the CEOs of the business. So we are focused on that bottom line. So when we increase that bottom line inside this new environment, right, with our new multiple, the value of our business, of our asset, goes up to $6.4 million. That's a huge difference in the value of your asset over time. And you can make those changes that impact the multiple at the same time and at the same pace as you're making changes to increase the bottom line. Okay? This is the owner's metric. It's the multiple. Let's take a look at how you get there. Okay? So we typically think about increasing our sales and improving our performance, right, in terms of operations, increasing, let's say, efficiencies and what have you, reducing waste. And we would call this financial performance, which is our first little element here on the 8 drivers of company value. I don't want anyone to think I'm saying that your financial performance doesn't matter. It does matter, but it's not the only thing that matters. It's one of 8. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to go into each of the rest of these, because these 8 drivers are the things that drive that valuation number up. That valuation number up. So the first one, on just going clockwise, is the idea of monopoly control. Monopoly control is what Warren Buffett calls building a moat, right? Warren Buffett is a guy who is one of the top X number of richest people in the world, where X is a really small number, and he did it by buying companies, by investing in companies. Warren Buffett is the ultimate owner. The only thing he's looking at is that owner's metric, right? He buys companies, he looks at the financial performance. Okay, these guys got it under control. Then he looks at the rest of these things. And one of his favorites is the idea of monopoly control, which is to do something that no one in your market can do other than you. Okay? This can be monopoly control, meaning you're the only person in your town that does something, right? Because the business requires, location is important. Or it can be you're the only one in the country who does something. And I have some terrific stories about real life companies that can do this. Let me give you some counterintuitive advice on how to improve in this area. When you think about growing your business, a lot of advisors will tell you, well, you have some customers, sell those customers more things, right? And in fact, it's proven that it's cheaper to sell more new things to existing customers than it is to sell things to people who aren't your customers. But what ends up happening when you do that is you build yourself a little trap, you limit your freedom, and you limit the value of your company. I'm going to argue that in order to develop monopoly control, you have to sell fewer things to more people. And though in the short run, that might seem like it's more difficult, we didn't get into this because it's easy, let's be honest. In the long run, this has a huge impact on the value of your asset, right? So niching down, finding a niche, providing a simpler product offering or service to more people is the way to build monopoly control. Moving on to the Switzerland structure, so-called because Switzerland is neutral, right? That's their thing. They didn't join either world war. They only joined the United Nations after a nationwide referendum. They are not a member of the EU. They don't use the euro, right? Even though they're right smack in the middle there. Switzerland is all about being neutral. You need to be neutral too. What does that mean? You cannot rely on any single employee, any single customer, or any single supplier in order to do your business. By the way, that employee is often the owner. We'll come back to that later, right? But it certainly means that you have to have in place basic documentation of processes and procedures so that if someone wins the lottery and goes to Bali, it's not too hard for you to train their replacement. It also means if you have a client that it represents more than, let's say, 15% of your revenue, you need some more clients of that size. Maybe you even want to figure out a way before you decide who you're going to add to sell less to that major client. I'm not suggesting that that's the option you choose. It is an option that exists. Certainly, you don't want to be reliant on a single supplier. It's better for you to pay a premium, meaning not take advantage of price breaks at different points and use multiple suppliers, because having multiple suppliers increases the value of your business, even though that lack of efficiency may have a slightly negative impact on your bottom line. Moving on, the valuation teeter-totter is about cash flow. So teeter-totter, right? Maybe you call it a seesaw. It's that playground thing where the thing, two people sit on it and it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. If your business has periods where you're very tight on cash and other periods where you're flush, that's going to come out in the financial reports, right? When someone's doing due diligence to buy your business. And what that means is that the value of your business is going to be reduced in their eyes. And let me tell you why. When someone buys a business, they write 2 checks. They write the check to you, right? Thank you very much. Here's the check for your business. Pleasure doing business with you. But then they also have to write a check to their operating account. And the larger the check is that they have to write to their operating account, the smaller the check is that they're going to write to you, because there's only so much money, right? So they got to get it somewhere. So finding a way to balance your cash flow, and there's 8, 9 levers here that we can talk about on maybe another one of these presentations, is hugely important to increasing the value of your business. Again, even if it means taking a knock slightly on your P&L statement, right? Even if it means having a lower profit margin, because what people want when they buy the business is to make a good financial decision, right? Which means managing their cash. Moving on, hub and spoke. I alluded to this in the Switzerland structure. If you are in a business where you know every customer and every decision has to come across your desk, or you're the only one who can put the finishing touches on the document or the installation, the value of your business drops. So a way that we describe this is nothing happens in the business without going through you. You are now the hub in the middle of the wheel of your business. And without you there, the wheel can't turn. And we describe this as the owner's trap, right? You start your business, you want to be free, you start working, you start saying yes to customers because that's what we all do. You start selling a wider range of things to your existing customer base as advised by popular culture. You're giving up your possible building of a monopoly, but what you're also doing is trapping yourself inside the business. So even though the business is doing well, and even though the profits are there, and even though your lawyer and your accountant and your financial advisor all think you're doing great, you are sitting on your bed on a Saturday afternoon, having just finished doing another 2 hours of work, wondering where your boat is, okay? And this is frankly the pain point that people come to us with initially. But getting yourself out of the middle of everything isn't just important to your quality of life, it's important to the value of your business. Moving on to your customer score, right? So we talked about your financial performance. We talked about building a moat and having a monopoly. We talked about being neutral and not relying on any single source for your business. We talked about managing your cash flow. We talked about getting you out of the middle of everything. Let's not forget your customers. Your customer score, commonly referred to as your net promoter score. You want the answer to one question and one question only. I know you're thinking about it. What questions do we have to put on the survey for our clients? There's only one, and it's this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our business to a friend or colleague? And using the answer to that one question, you can come up with a score, your net promoter score. And the better that score is, the better for the value of your business. Why is that? Again, the financial buyer of your business wants the predictability of getting the return on what they're buying from you. The next driver is growth potential. And I'll make this simple, which is leave some money on the table. And remember, when you're selling your business, when you've reached your finish line, that's someone else's starting line, right? So they need to have a sense that there's somewhere to go. So whether or not you're operating your business and trying to take advantage of every opportunity, before you sell your business, way before you sell your business, and this is a good practice for growing your business, is being ahead of the game and knowing where else you might be able to grow. Because showing up with that information at the sale absolutely increases the value of your business. And then finally, we'll talk about recurring revenue. And this is, we all know what this is, right? If you pay for Netflix or you belong to a gym, every month someone's getting the same amount of money from you in a predictable fashion. Remember, I talked about predictability earlier. Finding a recurring revenue model for your business is another must for increasing the value of that asset. If you're within 3 to 5 years, I don't want to scare you and think, well, how am I going to implement this whole recurring revenue model? Even having a plan, like a real good plan for recurring revenue model, is a great way to increase the value of your business. So we've gone through all of these, and I just want to make one final point. Making improvements in all of these areas, it doesn't only increase the value of your business. It increases your fun in running the business. It gives you more fun challenges to work out. It gets you out of the trap you may have set for yourself. It absolutely, all of these things together do result in increased profitability and improved cash flow, which means you can have the boat or whatever it is, the trip to Europe or what have you. Just a couple of final words about valuation. We do an assessment. It's called a value. You get a value builder score as a result of the assessment. It gives us an average valuation of your business. It's not the kind of valuation you would take to an insurance company, but it's pretty real and it's pretty good. And what we've learned over time is that the average business that does this assessment ends up with a score of 3.5, but a valuation of 3.5 in terms of how they sell down the road or the offers they get. But we've noticed that businesses that score a 90 out of 100 on this assessment get double, that is a 7.1 valuation on the same types of businesses, controlling for size, industry, et cetera, right? So that's, if you'll remember those numbers from the beginning, again, not something we pulled out of thin air. And if that's not enough, there's more. What we've noticed is companies that score 90 or more get 3 times more unsolicited offers to buy their business than the average score on the value builder assessment. Now, when someone is giving you an unsolicited offer, you understand, of course, you're in a very strong negotiating position, right? They came to you. You didn't come to them. So just a couple of ways that we've seen in the data of how the value builder score or the valuation of your business impacts your strength, your wealth, and your freedom. So what do you need to remember in order to improve that metric? You want to, of course, do good business, right? The industry you're in and your revenue are important, but they're not the only things. You want to focus on selling less stuff to more people. Tough one to swallow, keep it in mind. You want to reduce your reliance on a single customer. You want to reduce your reliance on a single employee. You want to reduce your reliance on a single supplier. You want to get a good net promoter score. They're easy to conduct. It's one question. SurveyMonkey is your friend. You want to leave some field left to plow, meaning you want to have a good case for the buyer about where they're going to go with the business. And you want to create a recurring revenue stream that supports your bottom line. So thanks very much for coming. Very happy to help anyone that wants a complimentary value builder score. Whether or not you take advantage of it, please keep in mind those 8 drivers. I'm sure there's opportunities in your business. Thanks again, Leo. Thanks again, Diane. Great being here today.
Doron, thank you so much for an incredible masterclass. I have certainly learned a lot. And thank you to all of those who came here live. Nothing like seeing a presentation live. For those of you watching a recording, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can have access to all of our masterclasses, and make sure to share this masterclass with anybody you know who is an owner looking to get that freedom.